إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهدي الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن سيدنا محمدا عبده ورسوله يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله ولتنظر نفس ما قدمت لغد واتقوا الله إن الله خبير بما تعملون يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما أما بعد فإن أصدق الحديث كتاب الله وخير الهدي هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار. Dear brothers and sisters, there is an incident that happened in the time of Uhud, in the battle of Uhud, that after the battle was finished, the battle ended, the Sahaba, there were about 70 Sahaba that were shaheed in that battle, and some of the best, as we know, Sa'd ibn Umayr and others. And so people, different obviously families and people were crying for their loved ones that were killed as human beings. And they were, looking at their family members, people doing burials for their family members and things like this. And, there was some type of sadness. The Prophet ﷺ made a statement. He said, Subhanallah, he said, today there is someone to cry for someone, and there is someone that's crying for their loved one, except Hamza radiallahu anh. And it's a very profound statement. He said, Subhanallah, everyone has found someone to cry for them except for Hamza radiallahu anh. And this can be very connected to what is happening to Sudan, brothers and sisters. Is that there is someone to cry for Gaza. There's someone to cry for the Muslims of maybe Kashmir. There's someone to cry for the Muslims, whether they're Uyghur Muslims or Muslims in Chechnya, or what we see in the brothers in Bangladesh or south of Bangladesh. Everywhere there is someone to cry, except Sudan, in a sense that you have 300,000 Muslims killed. And we don't see the kind of activism, the kind of awareness that was created for what was happening in Gaza. Of course, we understand the importance of Masjid al-Aqsa and Ardu Sham al-Mubarakah in general. But subhanAllah, dear brothers and sisters, we are a body as a Muslim nation. We are a nation of Islam. We are not divided. Of course, physically today, unfortunately, physically, mentally, we have been divided, and by design, where someone, if you are from Palestine or from Gaza specifically, especially even if you're from Gaza, maybe someone from West Bank is not crying for you as much as somebody from Gaza is crying. And this is a very unfortunate situation, but it's true. You will go to West Bank and you will go to certain areas in Palestine and spend 3 months there. And you will find people eating, drinking, going to, restaurants, while an hour and a half away from them, a genocide is taking place. This is a reality, and it's true, and something that we have to figure out what happened to this ummah that it became like this. And the question, even further than that, is maybe even deeper than that, is this still an ummah? And is it just on paper that we, it's a tradition to say ummah, 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 so we just kind of say it, but we feel nothing for that ummah. You look at Afghanistan, brothers and sisters, Iqbal, a very famous poet from what was known as Hindustan or India in general, before Pakistan was created. He had said that Afghanistan is the heart of Asia, and the Muslims of Asia. If Afghanistan gets sick, the whole Muslims of Asia will be sick. And it's very true. And when we look at the situation of Afghanistan today and what may happen in Afghanistan and between Afghanistan and the Muslims of Pakistan, where there could be a war, a bloodletting which could become beyond your or my imagination. And over what? Over a line, what's known as Duran line. A line that was marked, created by Sykes and Picot. The same line that in many ways makes me not care for a brother in Gaza. The same line that was created in a way so that I don't care for the Muslim in Sudan or in Chad or in Nigeria, because get ready, because Nigeria might be next. Or a Muslim in Kashmir or India, or it's these lines. Imagine, these are literally lines that define our emotional attachment to them, to those areas or to those Muslims. I mean, I remember when I was in Rohingya camps, there was a sister that was brought to us who was raped 4 times. Her 2 sons were killed. Her son and her husband was actually not only killed, he was first, they shot him and then beheaded him. And when they found her on the other side of Burma, there was a border, because at that time there were about 20,000 people trying to push through that line to try to enter Bangladesh. And all of a sudden they found the sister and they brought her to the camp and we took her to a certain area. And then it was just to see her story was something else. And there was a doctor with me who belonged to the military. He was a military doctor. So I asked him, I said, why do we care for her so much here? But what happened when she was on the other side of this border of Bangladesh? She was in Burma. But all of a sudden our emotions are so much with her that what has happened to her, her story, her children, 2 of them, one was actually thrown. She said, I threw one of them in the river because I was worried that they would burn them alive, because they had seen so many families burned alive. So, this is, subhanAllah, something to really think about, to say, what is it in our today's psychological makeup of the Muslim that he or she has become this way? That pain, the levels of pain, the levels of anger, the levels of care goes up and down depending on that ethnicity, depends on that color. It wouldn't be alive for others to actually say, oh, Muslims are a very racist people. And I really do believe Muslims today are very racist. We see that in our masajid. The brother is laughing here. Am I right? I'm right, I know, because I feel it. I've seen black families that come to the masajid. And if you come maybe once or twice, it's like, then, the masjid will kind of say, don't you have masajid in the inner city? Go there. You haven't felt that maybe, because most of you are not black. But I've seen it. And I've had sisters from African American community come and tell me that. They said, brother, you're talking about Sudan is very far. It's thousands of miles away from us. Thousands of borders away from us. There are borders in the masjid. Don't you have a masjid in the south side, somewhere in your city? Why don't you just go to the masjid? Because you know why? Too many blacks coming in the masjid, it kind of lowers the status of the masjid, financial status. It has to be maintained. It's true what I'm saying. I know what I'm saying is true. And I can say it. Maybe African American brother, if he's giving a khutbah here, he may not say it because it's too nice. He's trying to maintain that brotherhood. But the reality is understood by everyone. And so if you think that doesn't go on to how we feel about the Muslims of Sudan, how many of us know how did the Muslims of Sudan become Muslim? How did Sudan come into Islam? Where did Islam come to Sudan? Who are the ulama of Sudan? You can say, oh, who's that? Give me a famous name from Gaza. a scholar, you might say, oh yeah, of course we know Imam Shafi'i is from there. Maybe some of you didn't know that either. Yeah, Imam Shafi'i from Gaza. Oh, how about so and so from this land? How about somebody from Samarkand? How about somebody from Bukhara? We know. How about the ulama of Sudan? The ulama, dear brothers of Sudan, some of the most amazing minds to Islam came from this land of Sudan. To the point, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala calls Luqman Hakim. Luqman Hakim. From the hikmah of Luqman, Allah mentioned him. And the ayah that says, Ya bunayya la tushrik billah, inna shirka la dhulmun azim. This is when he's talking to his son and he said, let me give you some wisdom. And one of the wisdoms is that, oh bunayya, oh my son, do not commit shirk. La tushrik billah, inna shirka la dhulmun azim. And subhanallah, dear brothers and sisters, I was actually thinking about this ayah. And I was saying, subhanallah, if the Muslims were to just take this ayah, who is Luqman Hakim? He's a Nubian man, dark as dark can be. Dark, tall Nubian man from the north mountains of Nubia, which at the time Sudan was defined from the north and south mountains. These are the mountains that at the time many ways defined Sudan. And of course later the British divided Sudan in such a way to create continuous war between so-called Arab blacks and the blacks. Or the Arabic speaking blacks versus non-Arabic speaking blacks. British created that line after 1898, 99. But this ayah, when I thought about this ayah and said, subhanallah, if I was to think from this ayah, لا تشرك بالله إن الشرك لظلم عظيم. It is a dhulm, it is an azim dhulm that this shirk creates. And if you come to our realities today, dear brothers and sisters, you will find that our belief, our standing today, our foundations are built on this today as Muslims. Yes, we call ourselves Muslim and Ummah and all of this. But the reality is our sources of thinking, our basis, our foundation is completely colonialism. We think from a colonial perspective. We don't think from Ya bunayya la tushrik billah inna shirka la dhulmun azim. Because if you were to seriously think from the shirk and deen, Tawheed and shirk perspective, you would realize that Tawheed makes you and me brothers. Tawheed makes you and me brothers. Makes the sister my sister. Makes your dad my brother. If he's hurting, I think about it. A brother right before the khutbah started was about to say something about his father to me, and I told him, hold on, this is a very important discussion. I need to discuss this with you because he's sick. This takes some time. I need to give it proper time. He's not my dad. But he is a Muslim, and he deserves my attention. But where is that connection coming from? Not just because I know the brother, that's one thing. But I know that discussion, if I don't give it proper time, Allah will ask me about this on the Day of Judgment. That perspective is in my mind. That taqwa, that is what taqwa and sincerity and all of this la ilaha illallah means, that nothing, وَمَنْ يَعْمَلْ مِثْقَالَ ذَرَّةٍ خَيْرًا يَرَى وَمَنْ يَعْمَلْ مِثْقَالَ ذَرَّةٍ شَرًّا يَرَى. Every single thing I'll be accountable for, every dharra. I will be accountable for that conversation, that look, that action, that deed, that thought, if I pursue on it. That's Tawheed. Tawheed gives me that perspective to look at the world from a certain perspective. Doesn't matter what you look at. You look at a sister, you lower down, you lower your gaze because it's Tawheed. No one is there to tell you, hey man, you don't have to do that. The only thing that's making you do that is Tawheed. Allah. Taqwa, fear of Allah. Hey man, this gaze to take me to Jannah. That's literally the only thing that is making your behavior the way it is. And the moment I switch that to colonial behavior, colonial system, capitalistic, worldly only, depends I live for today and I live in this world that let me do whatever I can get. It's all about, it's that belief. At the end of the day, the kufr itself has an aqidah. And you will think from that perspective, you will behave from that perspective. So when people are coming and asking, oh brother, are you not seeing what's happening Al-Fashir? 2-month-old, 2-year-old, 4-year-olds are being raped. This is happening. People are acting like animals. Maybe animals don't behave that way. But the whole Ummah behaved like animals when Gaza was happening. Have you ever seen, brothers and sisters, if you ever go to slaughter an animal, you go to Eid al-Adha, I'm sure you go to your, camps or whatever it is that people go, to slaughterhouses, whatever. Take some grass, grab maybe 10, 15 sheep and put some grass in front of them. Grab one of the sheep and start slaughtering him. Have you ever seen that 19 of the sheep jump on you because you're slaughtering the sheep? Has it ever happened to you? Never happens. As long as you give them food, they're chewing. I'm busy. Their guy just got slaughtered and he's screaming his heart out. It's like, yo, do something. Not only that, they're giving him some water too to tell you, yo. And then they know that they're next. They didn't bring 20 of them on Eid al-Adha for nothing. But subhanAllah, brothers and sisters, have we become like this? Literally, we have eyes that don't see. We have hearts that don't have any pain. We have brains that don't think anymore. We have ears that don't want to hear. Even if they hear, has no impact. I can almost tell you the impact of what was happening in Gaza is already gone, and many 80% of us. As if Masjid al-Aqsa has been liberated. A ceasefire, which is supposedly a ceasefire just on paper, killing 250, 48, 1900 a day. But somebody tells us, oh, it's ceasefire, so we believe in. The point of all of this, brothers and sisters, is that this type of pick and choose rage, it has to stop. And we as Muslims, especially you who are growing up, your young brothers, young sisters who are thinking about this Ummah, and hopefully you're thinking about this Ummah. You're trying to figure out what is going on, why is this Ummah at this stage, and for what reason have we become like this? What has happened to us that we do not think about the affairs of the Ummah with a mature and serious thought process? Just like you come and you spend 4 years in trying to achieve a goal, trying to achieve a purpose. But keep something in mind, here is 4 years, you may have 67 years that you're going to live, and whatever it is that you achieve here, you will be asked for. Your parents will ask, 4 years you spent at this institution, what did you achieve 4 years or 2 years or 3 years, whatever years? What did you achieve after this? There is an accountability. Somebody's going to ask because they spent the money on you, they spent time on you, they spent resources on you. Now, how about you being here in 60 years, 70 years in this dunya? There is someone who has spent time, money, resources on you. And you think that there will be no accountability after having such a maybe lavish lifestyles? Think about it. It's really time to seriously think and take oneself accountable, brothers and sisters, and take the advice of Umar ibn Khattab, as he said, take yourself accountable before you're taken accountable. أقول قولي هذا أستغفر الله لي ولكم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Dear brothers and sisters, when Islam entered Sudan, it entered from Egypt, Mosque. It was under Amr ibn al-As, and of course Islam came to Egypt. And when Sudan was taken away from us, where nothing but corruption begins, that was 1899. When the British took this area and disconnected Sudan from the rest of the Muslim nation. Then it didn't stop there. You see, dear brothers and sisters, many times when we ask Muslims, why are we in this condition? The number one cause people give us, they say, brother, it's our amal. It's because of our amal we are in this mess. Because of the way we do things, because amal, our affairs, how we take care of them. And this is why the Muslims are suffering, the Muslim lands are suffering this. You know, I asked a question, and I'll put two things. Number one, when you say amal, and when you say how, you know, so much sin happens in the Muslim land, and because of that this is happening. You know, I'll ask you a simple, serious question. Is there one sin that does not happen in this country? Name one. Sin actually might be invented here. I'm sure. And then it's given to the rest of the world how to do it too, with a nice, you know, fact of here's how you do it. Right? But then the question comes, well, subhanAllah, in lands where people pray constantly, so many masajid, people are fasting, going to Umrah and Hajj all the time. Sometimes because they have too much money, they don't want anything else to do, so they go to Umrah and Hajj. They have no. It's amazing how people have, you know, how much money that they're spending on these things. While subhanAllah, that money could be used for so many other things. But anyway, all of this is happening. The people are praying, people are fasting, people are giving, Muslims are doing, they're crying, they're standing. Ramadan is coming now, they'll stand again 30 days crying. But then you say, subhanAllah, in these lands there is no barakah, but there is barakah in this land. A question you should ask. You ask even the ulama who say talk like this, I tell them, brother, you came here for a job. Obviously barakah is here, in the land of sin. Don't you question that? Did you ever question it? Like, you know, it's weird. I need to understand this. How is it that in the land of sin, there is barakah? People from around the whole world, they want to come here for jobs. But the Muslim lands where people pray, fast, go to Hajj, go to Umrah, fight for the sake of Allah, whatever it is that they're doing, standing up, being steadfast, there's no barakah. Masjid Aqsa, no barakah. Makkah, Medina, no barakah. Babri Masjid, no barakah. Nothing. Subhanallah, something to think about. Brothers and sisters, this is what happens when you become ideologically declined. Nations don't go up and down due to these things. People go up and down due to ideological decline. When you lose your sources, and this is what I said, people today, the Muslims today are thinking from colonial perspective. They've been made to think a certain way. Think the way we want, act the way we want. Now think about it, brothers and sisters. When you talk about even sin, let me go to the second part of this. When you say, oh, our amal are bad. Fine. Why are your amal bad? Why is it that we are so prone to sin today, so much more to sin? You ask this question, why? Okay, fine, our amal are bad. But why? Everywhere I turn, I'm more likely to commit sin than to do something good. It's true. No matter where you go today, universities, colleges, even masajid, for God's sakes, people forget their clothes, even the masajid. Happens. That's what the masajid are today, entertainment. People come together and you know, let's watch some Super Bowl in a masjid. Because the masjid has nothing else to give you. So it's giving you this. Subhanallah. And then we are asking, why are our youth, our amal? Brothers and sisters, the thing you have to keep something in mind is that the structure, the culture that you live in, you become like the culture that you live in. The culture is emphasized, enforced, and reinforced. Whether you like to do good or not, the moment you pick up your phone, there are certain things on there, whether you want to avoid it or you don't want to avoid it. There are things that you are forced, the system under which you live in makes you do them. So it's when you blame the people and say, oh, the people's amal are bad, and don't think anything above what makes the people this way. Why does it make a police officer corrupt in the Muslim land or anywhere else? Because he's saying to you, look, what I have to pay to make a living, I cannot, so I am forced to take bribes. I have 5 kids, how else am I going to survive? But somebody who does nothing, who has connections, can make $1 million a day. Just because he has connections. This is the type of the world that we live in. People, brothers, can you guys come up, just move up a little bit for me. So dear brothers and my sisters, we have to make sure we do some thinking. We have to do some thinking to see why is it that the Muslim Ummah is in the mess that it is in. When we look at Sudan, brothers and sisters, the first thing that the British did is when they came into Sudan, they replaced the ulama with the type of ulama that British wanted. You know, and I don't know how much time do I have. How much time do I have? 5 minutes. When the British came to India, you see, it's a copy-paste issue. It's a book. What do you call it? Copy playbook. It's become a playbook, right? You come to Sham, and then you divide Sham in 3. That's what's going to happen to Syria. It looks like it's going to become 2 or maybe 3 countries. You come to Somalia now 2 or 3 countries. Right? And all these places I've been to, I've seen, subhanAllah, you know, the way they do it. In Somalia, you ask the brothers, what are you fighting for? You're all Shafi'i. It's not like, you know, Hanafi, Shafi'i issue can happen, Shia, Sunni can happen, nothing can happen. So what do you happen? Let's just fight over Qabail. You gotta have something to fight over, because that's the only way we can survive. That's the only way we have jobs. SubhanAllah, dear brothers and sisters, you know, you look at the situation of Somalia. I remember asking a soldier, I asked him, how much do you make, brother? Yani, you know, in this war. He said, 200 a month from this side and 100 from this side. He said, you fight on both sides? He said, I fight on both sides. Literally, he said, I fight on both sides. One night, at night, I do this, and in the mornings I fight this side. He said, it's unbelievable. And now, here's the thing. Even whatever he does, he's making $300 a month. Fighting and supposedly protecting whoever, I don't even think he knows. His interest. The African Union, when they came in Somalia, brothers and sisters, African Union soldier, the average soldier from African Union makes $1,000 a month. When they came in, they removed the Islamic Union. If you know the history of Somalia, you will know what actually happened to cause this 24 years so-called civil war. They came in, they removed the people, they did what they did, they brought in the African Union. Now you tell me, do you think that the soldiers who are making $1,000 a month from being part of African Union, do you think that they want more conflict or less conflict? Because if they go back home, they're going to make $200, $300 a month. While you work for African Union and you create conflict, you will make $1,000 a month. Killing each other. A brother in the evening, an enemy at night. SubhanAllah. This is real stuff. And so while you are at these universities, brothers and sisters, while you are at these universities, at these institutions where you're learning and whatever it is that's happening, you really have to take these 4 years very seriously. One of the things, other than you preparing yourself for coming years, coming days in your life, you actually have to also realize what role am I going to play as a Muslim young person or Muslim in general in what is happening to this ummah. It is unbelievable. We may have forgotten the sisters who are not allowed to wear hijab in Kyrgyzstan or Uzbekistan. Imagine you being put in jails if you have a beard, you have to shave your beard. You cannot walk around, you cannot show your Islam in the land of Kyrgyzstan and Uzbekistan, in the land of Samarkand and Bukhari. Imagine, dear brothers and sisters, you have somebody like Imam Bukhari who's from Bukhara, Samarkand, the book that we treasure so much, that we say it's the most authentic book after the Quran. All of these things that we say and we praise Imam Bukhari, in the land of Imam Bukhari today, talking about Islam is a crime. You go to jail. You can be imprisoned, long-term imprisonment, just to talk about Islam. So dear brothers and sisters, as I said in the beginning, I mentioned about Hamza radiallahu anhu. And I said, SubhanAllah, there was someone to cry for Hamza at the time of Uhud. But today, we don't have people crying for Sudan. We don't have Muslims crying for the Muslims of Congo. We don't have people who are Muslims who are crying for the Muslims of Nigeria. We don't. And you'd be surprised the kind of suffering, the things that you have seen in Gaza is happening. When you think about 300,000 people dead, just think about it. I'm just saying, in the last 72 to 40 some hours, 3,000 people killed. Did you know this? Children, there's one, subhanAllah, the Imam, he's giving the khutbah, people are telling him, we can't hear your khutbah. Imagine if you can't hear me. And he's saying, I cannot because I'm so hungry. I haven't eaten and I cannot speak more louder than so I can reach to the ends. Hunger. In the land of Sudan, which is known as the bread basket of the Muslim world. In a land, people are hungry, not have enough energy to even speak, forget about anything else. In a land of plenty, people do not have enough to eat. This must make you not only angry, but must make your heart and mind think about the condition of not only Muslims, brothers and sisters, the condition of humanity. Please, brothers and sisters, do not look at the affairs of this ummah as if it's not about you. Tables turn. Tables turn, and it doesn't take much for Allah Azza wa Jal to turn those tables. We let go of our brothers and sisters. A time will come that nobody will be there to care for us. While you have the time, the dignity, the honor, the strength, make sure that you put your time and effort in making corrections and do the work that's needed so that it doesn't turn, the tables don't turn on you and I. ربنا أفرغ علينا صبرا وثبت أقدامنا فانصرنا على القوم الكافرين. ربنا لا تزغ قلوبنا بعد إذ هديتنا وهب لنا من لدنك رحمة إنك أنت الوهاب. ربنا أفرغ علينا صبرا وثبت أقدامنا فانصرنا على القوم الكافرين. ربنا لا تزغ قلوبنا بعد إذ هديتنا وهب لنا من لدنك رحمة إنك أنت الوهاب. إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت وسلمت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. وأقم الصلاة.